Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 10.
An email about next week's Ed Sheeran concert at the Fargo Dome has a lot of people in the Valley confused. The email states no one will get their tickets until 24 hours before the concert. The tickets will only be mobile, and you can only get in the door if everyone from your party is there. Valley News Team's Bailey Hurley talked with ticket holders who say they hope the new rules don't cause any problems.
This email sent earlier in the week to Ed Sheeran concert goers has some scratching their heads.
That doesn't make any sense. If people have last minute plans that come up that they can't go, then they're out hundreds of dollars.
The email says tickets will only be accepted electronically and they won't be sent out until the day before the concert.
I usually just have people hold them at will call, but since there's no will call, then I'm not really sure.
I mean, I'll get nervous if it's like 12 hours before and I still don't have my tickets emailed, but I mean, I do kind of wish, I guess, I could have the email now. I don't know why they're waiting so close.
And on top of all that, you can only enter the Fargo Dome if all of your party is with you, meaning you might get stuck in the lobby waiting for someone if they're running late. Or if you're trying to sell some of your tickets, you'll have to meet up and walk in together.
I wish there would be a way to like transfer them, or like if I could text them their electronic copies so they could enter that way.
But one woman I talked with says she's seen this rule before, saying it's not as strict as it seems.
Before, when I've been to concerts, all you have to do is just screenshot the barcode that they scan and you send it to the person that's going with you.
Sundin says although the rules seem tricky, she thinks the singer made the right choice.
I think that there's just been a lot of artists lately that have experienced seeing their tours that are selling out and the tickets are going to scalpers or the third-party websites, and then the stadiums aren't actually filled. Like their tickets are sold, but the seats aren't full, so there's a lot of fans that are missing out on it.
In Fargo, Bailey Hurley, Valley News Live.
The Fargo Dome says the ticket rules are the singers and not theirs. They say you should plan ahead with everyone in your party so you don't end up waiting around. A big thanks to our viewers for sending us great photos that they captured after all the snow fell. We made it above 30 today, barely. Let's hope for some better temps tomorrow. But before we get there, we're going down. Robert, how low are we talking about?
Yeah, way down in some areas as we head through the overnight hours. Already into the teens in some locations. As cold as 16 right now in Grand Forks, 18 degrees. Cavalier, Langdon, Valley City, and Gwinner, 25 right now here in Fargo. 26 Bemidji, 28 in Baudette. Winds rather light, but enough to create some pretty cold wind chills, as cold as 8 in Langdon and Valley City, 16 in Grand Forks, 14 in the Bemidji area. Clouds continue to clear, still holding on to our far eastern counties, but they'll get on out of here, and with hardly any clouds around, a lot of blue on the radar. That's just a little interference with our local radar sites. We do have some warmer weather to talk about on the 7-day forecast, and we'll get to that here in just a few minutes.
All right. Thanks, Robert. A local woman took to Facebook yesterday to remind people to drive carefully with the changing road conditions and to give semi-drivers some space. This after her vehicle lost control on icy roads and spun out, and a semi crashed into the back of her car and crushed it. The woman says the car's airbags did not deploy, so she's asking drivers to wear seatbelts and double check your children's car seats too. No one was injured in that accident. Residents in Jamestown say they're a bit scared because the man on your screen that you're about to see is armed and on the loose. Residents in Jamestown say they're scared because this man on your screen is an ex-con, 25-year-old Levi Guthmiller. The Jamestown Police Department says he's a danger to the public. One Jamestown resident says she's taking extra precautions until he is caught.
Things I would do is make sure you are always with people when you're out and about. Don't go somewhere by yourself if that's not like a large group of people around. You know, like I wouldn't go walking by myself right now.
Police think Levi Guthmiller is still in the city of Jamestown or in Barnes County. They're asking the public to call them at this phone number, 252-1000, with any information on his whereabouts. Leaders in our nation's capital say they're just beginning to understand Hurricane Michael's devastation. Our Washington Bureau's Kyle Madura sat in on today's briefing at FEMA headquarters and has the latest on the federal response.
Today is a big day for us when it comes to truly helping people and trying to prevent further loss of life.
The head of the country's disaster recovery agency says the federal government is just starting to get a big picture of the damage one day after Hurricane Michael slammed the Florida Gulf.
With FEMA right now, our focus is search and rescue, getting access to the areas that have been hardest hit and search and rescue.
FEMA Administrator Brock Long says then the mission shifts to reopening roads, getting those who lost their homes, food, and shelter, and restoring a heavily damaged power grid.
It's not stuff that you just put back together overnight, and it's unrealistic for people to think that it's going to happen within the next day or two in some of these areas.
Before the storm, FEMA estimated 1.5 million people could lose power. In reality, about 500,000 did.
You know, that is some good news, but, you know, for that 500,000 people that don't have power, we understand the frustration. We're doing everything we can, but it could be multiple weeks in some of those areas.
For some, with medical devices, getting power back could be a matter of life and death. The federal government is also declaring a health emergency, mobilizing workers, cutting Medicare red tape, and finding folks care options when hospitals can't provide it.
We've helped the state and local governments and stayed on top of moving patients out of hospitals that have been damaged, and we'll continue to push forward.
7,800 took shelter from the storm in 100 Red Cross shelters in Florida and Alabama. Now, the charity is prepping cots and food supplies, knowing many won't have a place to call home for some time. In Washington, I'm Kyle Madura.
The president also issued a disaster declaration for the Gulf. FEMA spokespeople say plenty of people could qualify for financial assistance. The Grand Forks man accused of sexually assaulting a woman in September has been extradited from Minnesota. 21-year-old Ian Herzberg was taken into custody last week in Pennington County, Minnesota. Wednesday, he was extradited back to North Dakota. Herzberg is charged with 2 counts of gross sexual imposition. Although some people are dreading getting more snow, Frostfire Park in Walhalla, North Dakota is taking advantage of it. The park got new chairlifts today after the old ones were deemed unsafe last year. The lifts were installed by helicopters, costing over $1.3 million. The park says the lifts will be installed in mid-November, and they hope to open the park by Thanksgiving. To stay updated on their progress, go to valleynewslive.com and click on this link. A march for justice in downtown Fargo this evening. The FM Missing and Murdered Indigenous Peoples Task Force chanted and said prayers for women who have experienced violence before marching area streets. Many participants wore red to call attention to the epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women. Later on Valley News Live at 10, chronic pain prompted a Minnesota outdoorsman to design a backpack that could solve a lot of problems. That's next.
Cold, even some single-digit low temperatures overnight tonight, but some warmer weather just around the corner, and we'll show you when right after this.